Hey, looks like we're live. I didn't even mean to hit that, but we are. There's no backing out now. I have to set everything back up. How's everyone doing tonight? I don't expect too many people to tune in, but that's okay. The replay will be up. I just wanted to take some time to answer some questions and give you guys an update about what's coming up in the next few weeks. I got a lot of interesting things I've been working on, some different things too, and I want to throw some ideas out there and see how some of you guys might feel about it. But the most exciting thing tonight is that uh, next week I'll be coming up on Saturday, so we should get some good engagement there. I know I should be able to catch some of you. I'm going to be putting up posts about it, and I'll be tagging everyone and letting everyone know. I know Jimmy, you've been trying to catch him. I know you said you always miss him, so maybe Saturday will work better for you. I'll definitely be hitting you up. I'd love to chop it up with you. We will get Chris on here for some interviews. Definitely going to bring through Johnny Rocks again. And then I have some other ideas. I'm not so sure what's going to happen with that debate that I've been anticipating because that guy never got back to me. But like I said, once I put out that Angels and Demons episode, I'm pretty sure that a bunch of Christians are going to come out of the woodworks and have a lot to say. So maybe I could get one of them to agree to a nice formal debate. I think that'd be nice. I'm definitely prepared for it. And if nobody comes through, I got all these notes and some of these things I've been researching lately. I'll probably do a few series of videos, not necessarily trying to debunk the Catholic Church, but I just want to draw some parallels between more ancient cultures and symbols that you might find throughout the Catholic conundrum. And then there's a lot of the primordial characters that we talked about that I want to make some references to and just connect some dots for some people. And then I do have a lot of existential questions about that. So we're gonna crack open some of those books and explore some of those topics. I'm really excited for that. And again, I'm not trying to be antagonistic about any of it. I'm genuinely just trying to explore these concepts farther and see what type of ideas we can build on collectively. And besides that, I've got a bunch of questions I've been collecting from some of the videos across all different platforms. Figured I would compile some of them and try to answer some. I'm definitely not going to get to all of them. A lot of these have already been answered. And I did most of these I briefly answered back in the comment section, but like on TikTok for instance, there's just not enough space. The maximum amount of characters they allow in the comment section is not enough to really expand on any of these concepts. So I figured I'd take it over here, and that's another reason why I wanted to do an open debate with some of those people because I can't be going back and forth with paragraphs in the comment section. I don't have time for that. So if I'm gonna be addressing any of those things, I may as well do it in video format and get some content out of it. Plus, people love debates. I know I do. I enjoy watching them. I haven't shared this anywhere. Don't know actually how we're even looking or sounding. Let me check on that. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. I might not be able to see any comments, and I'm sorry. I'm actually gonna see if I can set that up now so I could see any comments that come in. This new format has been weird. I know I've been talking about it, but now that we got through the holiday season, I'm definitely going to get Ryan back over here to get me set up on the computer and figure out some of this gear that I got and get everything working again because that computer is no good. I also have some ideas for some different types of videos. Recently, with all this research that I've been doing, I've been like messing around with this chat GPT a lot. And I obviously, as you guys can tell, I'm doing my best to keep organic, authentic content on my pages, but AI and ChatGPT is definitely it's a highly searched topic. And it's definitely something I don't want to shy away from, but I don't want my content specifically to just be all this AI generated content. I'm kind of contemplating starting a separate YouTube channel with strictly AI generated content. I mean, maybe I shouldn't do that. I don't know if I want to break through that wall, but honestly, it would be so much easier and quicker for me to put out a lot of valuable information. I just don't know how well people will receive it. I don't want to be like late to jump on the bandwagon like I am with everything. So, maybe I could get a head start on some of this stuff, but of course I'm resistant to it. Just like I've been resistant to everything in the past, especially like social media and all that type of stuff. So maybe I shouldn't wait. I'm thinking maybe I should start though, because I would be able to pump out videos with great information, but you could type in some prompts into some of these programs. I even have like the vidIQ extension, and that it'll just auto generate a video with a text with a voice, and it'll just lay out the entire thing for me, and all I got to do is put in a few prompts. So I don't want to be like lazy with my content, and there's definitely something valuable about the organic content. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. Maybe I don't know. Should I stay away from it? I barely have time to keep up with what I'm doing, but I would be able to exponentially increase my output if I did something like that. And then maybe I could just jump up on these lives once in a while for some Q&As and to clarify some of those concepts. We could still do deep dives and stuff, but I would just be able to pump out a lot more videos about a lot more topics if I utilize some of that AI that's coming out right now. I don't know. Besides that, I do have a lot of crazy conversations with ChatGPT. So I was thinking about bringing on ChatGPT for some interviews here and maybe having some conversations live with you guys because some of the answers do get really, really interesting. And it's kind of fun when you give it a feedback loop of logic and kind of see ChatGPT twist itself into these conceptual pretzels, I would say. It's interesting. I did get, I've gotten it to admit to contradict itself. I got it to admit the existence of God. I got ChatGPT to admit that it thought that there is a God. And then I got it to affirm the exact opposite of that. So it's a lot of fun. And it does, obviously, it does tap into a lot of information out there. So it's kind of interesting to see what it brings to the table. But I don't know. It's just some things I've been messing around with. Definitely would like to keep it mostly organic though, and keep the actual human interviews coming. It's just that's tougher to coordinate. So I don't. I'm not sure if anyone's commenting anywhere. If you are, I'm sorry, but I don't see it. I don't think I'm capable of seeing it. I'm gonna check YouTube real quick. It's weird because I have to do it incognito, otherwise it won't let me watch my own live video. And I'm definitely going to be taking questions like this in the future. And I figure like maybe once a month I could go through and compile some of these questions together to answer them. What I enjoy most about it is just how it makes me think and question some of the things that I already thought I knew. What's up, Fortnite Golden YT? Yeah, we all make all of our dreams for sure. That's over on YouTube there. Okay. Cool. So I can see the YouTube comments. So anyone that wants to comment, if you're over on Facebook, maybe just head over to my YouTube channel and you should see the live stream at the top of my channel there. And if you leave a comment there, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to see it. So that's cool. Just keep in mind that the comments on the live YouTube video disappear after I close out the live. So yeah, if you guys got any questions while we're going through here, you could throw them up in the comments section there on YouTube. But in the meantime, I just want to be kind of quick tonight, and I'll go through and answer some of these questions. I really need to get back to editing because I had the Aura video like mostly done with the editing, and I broke my phone, so it was a minor setback. It sent me back about a week or two now. So I'm gonna have to like really hit it hard. I was working on that last night, and I will have that video up really soon. I think it's gonna be a good follow up to the chakra video, and then we'll get into the angels and demons. That's what I've really been waiting for. So it's gonna be interesting just to see some of the feedback on that. I thought the chakra and the aura should be connected. You know, if anyone tunes into the aura video and they click on my channel, I'd like them to see the chakra videos right before that. It would be a good connection. That's the only reason I'm working on that, but I should have that done tonight. You guys could be looking out for that. And next week I'll be announcing the next one. So that should be fun. So yeah, I'm gonna get to some of these questions. I literally haven't uh, thought about any of these answers ahead of time. I didn't go through and like take any notes or anything. Literally, the amount of time it took me to copy and paste them into my Google Notes here is the only amount of time I spent looking at them. So, yeah, we could get into that. Like I said, I'm not probably not going to answer all of them. Some of these are pretty redundant, but the main ones I want to focus on are the ones from users that I noticed have commented on and shared my stuff in the past because I feel like they're more likely to see this. The other ones, if I've never seen you or heard you, I'm probably not going to get to it. So I noticed the one follower, Cam10, whoever he or she is, she, they've been following me for a while, and I noticed that they remixed some of my videos on YouTube, so that was cool. So they asked on the dream symbolism video that I posted a while back, and I've been meaning to get back to them on this. They asked, they said, beyond common symbolism like teeth falling out, how much does individual experience shape dream imagery? And do I have any examples of how a shared symbol might have drastically different meanings for two people? That's a lot. It's more than one question, but yeah, beyond common symbolism, how much does individual experience shape the dream imagery? And are there examples of how a shared symbol might have drastically different meanings for two people? That is one that we've talked about a lot in the past. Maybe not in these more recent sessions, but in like the first year of sessions, we talked a lot about that. And I did interview some people about that actually. But I think examples of how shared symbols can have drastically different meanings, I think that's pretty apparent in the mind if you just think about the subconscious connections that individuals might have with different things. Like, some people love swimming, some people love the water, some people are scared of the water. So just something as simple as that could change the meaning of the symbol in your dream if you dream about water. That's the issue with looking up something in a dream dictionary. That's why most of those are just nonsense because you can't really tell a person what a symbol might mean for them. Depending on what type of subconscious associations they might have with it, it could completely change it. Some people might love snakes and some people might love reptiles. So if they have dreams of reptiles, it could be something enlightening for them. If you're scared of those things and they make you uncomfortable, then that could be a dream about one of your phobias. You never know. Excuse me. So, how much does individual experience shape dream imagery? If I had to put like a number on it, a scale, I'd say like 90% or more of your dream imagery is shaped by your individual experience. And then, of course, we've talked about the archetypes. There's definitely archetypes. I mean, there's different themes and imagery you can experience that are pretty much universal across cultures. Things like being chased or even death in dreams or something like that. Those are pretty universal meanings for most people. And I mean, it's interesting. That's where Carl Jung comes in. Beyond the Freudian approach, Carl Jung took notes of thousands of dreams across different cultures and made connections between some of the common themes in them. And like I said, he went from Switzerland to remote tribes in Africa to different places in the Americas over here from north to south, and he found common symbols that almost everyone had, and they almost always connect the same meanings to them, and that's where you get the Jungian archetypes. I do have an entire video about that, so I could always post that in the comment section after this. And I think once you start to identify these archetypes, a lot of them will probably click with you. So, yeah, that was from Cam 10, and I appreciate you out there, whoever you are. The next one is from Tarot Force or Tarot Force. They said, You believe that dreams can provide insights into our unconscious mind. Or do you believe that dreams can provide insights into our unconscious mind, as suggested by Freudian psychology? How does contemporary dream research align with or diverge from these earlier theories? We well, that's a good those are good questions actually. That's two questions in one. Yes, I think dreams can provide insights into our unconscious mind, but not just the unconscious mind, also the collective conscious. I think, and that's where those archetypes come into play. And we've come a long way since Freudian psychology, although he laid the groundwork for a lot of the common themes. We've taken it a lot farther than that. And there's even based on a lot of the recent research from some of the labs that I've been posting about, we see that Freud couldn't have been completely correct. There's a lot of primordial experiences people have that get pulled up in their dreams that they usually even like through hypnotism and stuff like that, you can see where these are rooted. And this is why a lot of people talk about how we don't actually forget anything. Every memory is stored in your brain somewhere, and there's a lot of evidence to support that, as mind-boggling as it might be. There's like I said, through hypnotism and all that types things like that, we can connect people's current experiences and usually find what they're rooted in. And it doesn't always have to do with some sort of sexual desire like Freud talks about. He was I think he had a little bit too much of a drug problem there, and I think, like I said, we talked about Freud's free association, and I think his free association approach kind of gave him tunnel vision in some of his theories. So a lot of contemporary research has shown that not only is there some sort of biological evolutionary traits that are rooted in our dreams and our dream themes, but also some of it might be genetically coded. So, that right there would show if that was proven to be true, which since we've mapped the human genome a lot, they discovered a lot more meaning, a lot more connections between genetic predispositions and our psychological traits. So the more that information comes out, I think we'll separate more from the Freudian approach. Although we can always appreciate him for his recognition of the layers of the mind, the subconscious and the conscious. But I think it's time to go a little bit farther than that. We don't want to be held back by those antiquated methods anymore. At least that's how I feel. So, I'm sorry, my throat's messed up. Everyone's been sick lately. Everyone's calling out of work. The kids were sick last week. So the next question is from Julia Bakes, and she has a pretty cool channel. Check that out. Does like baking tutorials and stuff. But she said, are there any potential drawbacks to intentionally controlling your dreams? And I think the only reason I put that here, I think that's an important question, and we have talked about that before, but I never specifically addressed it. I don't think in any type of detail, but there definitely is. A lot of the recent studies with dreams have shown, especially with lucid dreamers specifically, they do show that a lot of these dreamers, after they go through these studies, and of course these are controlled lab experiments, so the environment can lead to some uneasiness. But they've shown that these lucid dreamers that do this, if if they do it too often for extended periods of time, they definitely wake up feeling unrested. So you can lucid dream every night, and you're definitely not going to get the type of rest you need. There's something to be said for that slow wave sleep and just allowing it to unfold the way it naturally should. Some scientists argue, and they think that we shouldn't lucid dream at all. They really think that the benefit to dreaming is, like I mentioned before, comes through these uh, hundreds of thousands of years of evolutionary biological processes. And they think, who are you to think that you can find more meaning in your dreams than Mother Nature has geared up for you after all these years? They think that letting it unfold naturally is probably the best course to take, because your subconscious can hold on to a lot more information than your conscious mind. And if you allow the subconscious to do what the subconscious is meant to do, you'll probably benefit the most from that. I think that you could argue both sides. There's strong arguments to be made for both sides, but what I would say is just everything in moderation, and try to find a comfortable balance between all of it. Because obviously I'm a big proponent of all of the benefits of lucid dreaming. You can address specific issues in your life. You can redirect your nightmares and reroute your consciousness entirely. So I think if you're in a really dark place, it can be beneficial, but too much of anything is never a good thing. So yeah, and I mean, not to mention that we've talked about, once you enter REM sleep, which is, so far as every experiment has ever shown, lucid dreaming is only achievable when you're in REM sleep. Actually, the phenomenon of REM sleep is caused from when you're in these vivid dream states, and that's what causes the rapid eye movements. So yeah, what I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, so when you're in these lucid dreams, when you're in the REM state, the brain looks like it's awake. Like I said, when scientists were first studying it in the 50s, they thought that the person in the lab was wide awake, and then they would go in the lab and see that the person's actually still sleeping. And that's why it was first called paradoxical sleep before they coined the term REM sleep, because it seemed to be a paradox. The brain looks like it's awake, but the person's actually fast asleep, and that's only because just the prefrontal cortex is shut down, but the rest of the brain is going wild. You got neurons firing off in every direction, so you're not actually getting any type of rest. You don't reach that hibernated state. So it is good to just let things unfold as they should once in a while, and make sure you get your rest. And then, if you want to go out exploring and lucid dreams, sometimes that can be fun. And especially if you have a specific issue that you want to address. But other than that, I've talked about it. I used to look forward to going to sleep every night just so I could go on these crazy adventures in my dream. And I did realize that that can be overbearing on the mind. It's almost like the concept of intervention and free will that Freud and Jung have both addressed. Also, Dostoevsky wrote a lot about it in some of his old writings. If we as humans have free will, is it best? This is, of course, it's just a thought experiment, but they say, like, if you were a god looking down on these human beings and you wanted to allow them to have free will, would you let them destroy themselves and let them redirect their own path? Was Should he have let Eve eat the fruit in the Garden of Eden? Or should he intervene? And if he intervenes, then that means that they don't have free will. I think that's metaphorically kind of the same thing with your dreams. It's like, do you want to allow your subconscious mind to explore freely, or do you want to intervene? Don't know. I think it's important to think about it before you do it and make sure you do it intentionally, just not blindly. So yeah, I'm feeling stuffy. My throat's feeling real scratchy tonight. People, I don't know how you guys are feeling out there, and I don't know how long I want to drag this on. Maybe next time when I do these Q&A sessions, I'll probably go through and actually do a little bit of research ahead of time so I can have some sources for some of my answers here. So the next one, actually, no, I don't even know that person. They're not worth it. He who heals. I've noticed him. He leaves a lot of comments. He shows a lot of love on some of these videos, and I'm not sure who he is, but he is he who heals. So he said, "What's the most surprising, expected thing you've learned in your study of dreams that challenged your initial assumptions?" And I like that question because I got two different ways to approach it. First, I would like to approach it from the opposite direction. Uh, like, the most surprising or unexpected thing that I learned from the study of dreams that challenged my initial assumptions. Um, one thing that I learned was that I and I still struggle with this, and I know a lot of people don't like to hear this, but one thing I learned that challenged my initial assumptions was that astral projection is most likely just an extremely vivid lucid dream. And I know a lot of people, they swear that it's like hyper realistic and they think that I'm wrong about this, but I really challenge anyone to prove the opposite. And, we've talked about a lot of the lab tests in the past where people have tried to prove this, and there's never been anything even close to conclusive. Even the CIA tried to do studies on this, and we've talked about that. And now, you could argue that they may have found some good evidence for it, and they might be hiding that from us because they don't want us to unlock our true potential. But there's been enthusiasts in small pockets all over the world that have tried to prove these things, that do want to put the information out there, and all of their experiments have been inconclusive up to this point. I know Harold Sherman is probably my favorite author and explorer of some of these esoteric concepts, and he was also a physiologist, and he did a lot of studies on this stuff, even like remote viewing and telepathy. And he's actually the one that wrote the book How to Make ESP Work for You. So he was very familiar with extrasensory perception and things like that. So, and what I learned from studying some of these dreams, which did surprise me, was the fact that there's no evidence that anyone has ever been able to successfully show that they've astrally projected. And again, I'm not saying it's completely impossible because, I mean, based on my foundational beliefs, it is completely in the realm of possibilities. But that just because it could hold true doesn't mean that it does. That would be a logical fallacy. So I have to admit the fact that there's no evidence for it. And I've tried to prove it to myself too through personal experience. And I know some of you guys have left me comments like that. Like, if I haven't experienced these things myself, I shouldn't be commenting on them. But as far as I'm concerned, I've definitely experienced the same thing as most people with astral projection. The only difference is I actually tried to conduct some physical tests, and they've just been inconclusive every time. It's pretty much shown that every time I thought I was having an out of body experience, it was really just an extremely vivid lucid dream. And I have no reason to believe that the mind can't trick us into thinking something's completely real. We know that can happen. So, until you can, I could keep a book open on my nightstand, and until someone can astrally project and tell me exactly what that book says, I'm not going to believe it. And it can't be some obscure connections that they try to make the way some of these fortune tellers try to do it. That doesn't work. If it was a literal physical representation in this specific dimension of this reality, then there would be no confusion. So that's still a challenge that I leave open to anyone. In the meantime, I'm just gonna, I mean, I don't want to make any solid conclusions, but I'm gonna go with the assumption that it's most likely that all those people are just having really vivid dreams. So that's one thing I learned that challenged my initial assumption. Honestly, my initial assumption was that some of these people are they're having out of body experiences. And now what I think is most likely is that that's probably not happening. And if it does happen, I would think the vast majority of the time that's not the case. And maybe once in a while, someone really is experiencing that. But yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't see any evidence for it. We got to be real with ourselves here. And one thing I don't want to hear from anyone is like that the whole like you just know it type of thing, because that don't cut it for me. I mean, you could feel like you just know a lot of things. A lot of crazy people feel like they just know a lot of things that are completely false. So I mean, I do appreciate that intuitive connection that someone might have. I do have respect for that, and I think there's something that can be valid about that. But I'm not buying it. So yeah, that's one thing that challenged my initial assumption about dreams. The other thing is that let me think about that because there's a lot of things that have challenged my initial assumptions. The other thing would be like shared dreams. I've actually, besides all the anecdotal evidence, there's been no physical evidence from the labs to show that people can share dreams. Outside of the experiments that we talked about with the two-way communication between dreamers, but that was achieved through external means. That was from the EEG meter scanning the brain, and then they used that computer and that device to channel that information over to the other dreamer. So, without the use of some sort of technological medium, I haven't seen that actually successfully done either. And we talked about it like last year. Since then that me and Chris, we've been trying to have some sort of shared dream like that. And again, I'm not saying it's not possible. It's definitely in the realm of possibilities. I just haven't seen any evidence for it, and there is zero clinical evidence for it. So that was something that challenged my initial assumption. And then the other big thing to challenge one of my initial assumptions is uh, Michael Raduga was the first one to really come out with this, but there's been a lot of anesthesiologists and neurobiologists that are talking about this now. There's one guy I've been listening to on YouTube recently, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I'll probably do a deep dive just on his experiments alone. And he actually, I'm really excited to bring some of that to the table. Actually, I might even share some clips from some of his speeches because he's been making the argument that w- dreams are not just some sort of extracurricular mental experience. He makes the argument that I was kind of flirting with like last year, that dreams might be fundamental to our survival. And he's someone who has a lot more credibility than me, so it was cool to hear him talking about it. But basically, and this is exactly what I've said in the past, and this is his argument, is that just like everything else in our body, if you don't use it, lose it. Your muscles will atrophy. If there's a certain muscle you don't use, eventually that muscle is going to get so weak to where you can't even use it. I think we all generally understand this. Same with your eyes are the same way. So if you keep one eye covered with an eye patch for a long, long period of time, and you take that eye patch off, your eyesight will be severely affected in that eye to the point where it won't even be able to take any external light. You're literally gonna disturb your retina, and you won't be able to see out of it. And if you keep one eye covered for too long, you will literally go blind in that eye. You need to use it. If you don't use it, you lose it. And the same goes for the faculties of the brain. And they've learned this from people who have had uh, different types of trauma to the brain. If there's a certain part of your brain that's closed off for too long, it will eventually lose its neurological function. It'll actually lose blood flow to that area too. So one strong argument for why we dream is strictly because we spend so much time sleeping, we don't want to lose control over any of these faculties in our brain. And that's why they think that REM sleep is so crucial, and it keeps your eyes moving while you're sleeping, because otherwise, if you sleep for 8 hours every night or more, that would be dangerous to your eyesight. You would literally end up hurting your eyesight, and not only that, you would hurt your own mental functions. So that's this guy's argument, is that basically our dreams are a way to keep our brain like primed and in shape for when we actually need to use it in our waking life. So those dreams are essential for to our survival and our cognitive abilities. That was one thing that challenged my initial assumption. I had no clue about that first going when I was going into some of this stuff. Um, okay, today's talks 10, whoever that is, they said if we were able to fully decode the neural basis of dreams, would we lose something valuable in the process? Would the mystery and subjective experience be diminished? I appreciate the intricacy of that question, but there's a pretty simple answer to that. And I would basically just say uh, every question has an answer, and every answer has more questions. And this is the paradox of reality that we all struggle with as human beings. Being finite beings in an infinite universe. I think it's hard for us to grasp something like that. But no, if we were to decode the neural basis of dreams, no, I don't think we would lose anything valuable in the process. Just like when we were trying to crack the human genome, we finally cracked the code to the human genome after how long did it take them? Like 80 years of trying to map it out. And we finally successfully did it. And since then, it was like it opened the door finally to an entirely new world. So I think if we were to decode the neural basis of dreams, I think it would just open the door to more insights. I think it would close probably 10 other doors, which show that all those other things definitely we can basically stop worrying about those causes and we can focus on what we might be able to learn strictly from the neural approach. And I think that would be great. And science has shown that every time I mean, Newton came up with his theory for gravity, but that wasn't the end of the story there. That was just the beginning. Since then, Newton has been expanded on, and we know that Newton's gravity, although it works, it's actually not real. It's not true. His theory of gravity was wrong, although the equations and the math works. For us on this planet, we know that Einstein's theory of relativity is a more accurate representation of gravity. So, gravity is not the pull of from the mass of an object, it's the warp of space-time. And they both explain the same thing, but they're completely different lenses to view it through. So I think the same would go with the neural basis of dreams. Same with Darwin's theory of evolution. I mean, he answered the evolution of species, but there's still so many questions that haven't been answered, and that's it's often referred to in the philosophy the community of philosophers. They talk about Darwin's black box, and there's a book called Darwin's Black Box. It's really interesting on that, and that's where a lot of the Christian fundamentalists come in. But leaving them out of it, like Darwin's black box is just it doesn't show how an inanimate object becomes animate. It doesn't show that jump from non-living to living. Once you get to living, you can track the evolution of species from there. So all the many different types of species that we have. But that just because he answered that question doesn't mean that we have all the answers yet. So no, I don't think that decoding the neural basis of dreams would make us lose anything valuable at all. I think it would just open up a door to a lot more mysteries. Every question has an answer, and every answer has more questions. So I think that's about it. There's a few more here, but I don't really think it's worth getting into. I mean, someone was leaving a lot of comments over on YouTube. The name was Juju Vidya, and maybe I should address it. They said that I mentioned something about the Holy Spirit. They said, I take it you're a Christian. And, that's something that I struggle with. And my girl said that to me not too long ago, just a few weeks ago. She mentioned something about like you're a Christian, you love Christ, you may as well just go to church. And it's like there's been and I'm not trying to like equate myself with any of these people, but there's been a lot of incredible scholars throughout history that consider themselves to be atheists, but they're biblical scholars. So studying the scriptures just for the historical richness of it is completely different than subscribing to their belief system. And specifically in that video that person commented on, the only reason I mentioned the Holy Spirit was because I knew it would catch a lot of people's attention. Sometimes you have to speak their language in order to make them understand you. So if I'm over here strictly referencing Hinduism and other agnostic belief systems, a lot of them aren't going to connect with it at all. So sometimes giving them a metaphor that they're familiar with is a good way to connect with them and make them understand what I'm trying to say. And if I can translate some of this information through that type of language, then I think that's an effective connection that I can make. And it doesn't mean I have to subscribe to their beliefs. I also don't have to try to diminish their beliefs either. And I've done that a lot in the past. So I'm not really trying to do that. I'm trying to find unity more than division here. So that's my goal. And it's funny because that person thought that I was a Christian, and then someone over on TikTok named Doors Deep left a comment telling me, they said, "I'm assuming you haven't actually read the Bible. Atheists like you shouldn't speak on things you don't know." So the only reason I put these two comments here at the end is because it shows an interesting contrast there. I guess depending on what video they're watching of mine, you can get two completely different perspectives of me. And that, I'm not trying to misrepresent anyone's belief system. So I I try to find a healthy balance between all of it. But no, I'm not atheist, and no, I'm not Christian. That's why I would like to debate some of these Christians. All of the most interesting debates I've seen with them is usually a Christian versus a Muslim, or a Christian versus an atheist. And it's going to be a unique perspective for them to try to approach someone who does believe in a higher power but doesn't subscribe to any of their dogma. Because all the most valid arguments that Christians have, they're not arguments specifically for Christ. They do have arguments specifically for Christ, but those arguments are easy to pick apart through actual evidence. But the only valid arguments they have are in support of some sort of higher power. It doesn't specifically denote the God that they believe in. So yeah, so that I think it's going to be pretty easy. That's why I could argue with atheists and Christians and have a lot of fun with it on both sides. But I appreciate all you people, and I think that's going to be about it. If anyone has, if I didn't see any of your comments again, I apologize. Totally forgot to even check YouTube. But I will be back to to the I'll be back to the upgraded setup probably by next week, hopefully. And if not, either way, we'll be up here, and I'm gonna try to do Saturday nights with my beautiful lady, and we'll get her perspective on some of these things once in a while, just for a less biased point of view. So yeah, that's about it. I appreciate all you people. Hopefully, hey, we got another subscriber on YouTube here. Whoever you are, thank you. And yeah, it's gonna be it. You guys can look out for that Aura video. I'll be posting that real soon. Tonight, I'm putting up a compilation of a more edited version of the chakra video, where I cut out all the other information, the stuff about the light sound bridge and the kundalini, and it's just a refined version of the chakra video, where I go through the chakras one by one and how to heal them and approach that. So yeah, you guys can look out for that. I will be posting that probably in like an hour or two. So yeah, I appreciate all of you. Thank you. That's gonna be it. Peace and love.